Are we the same? Is there a oneness in all humanity?
Absolutely. Krishnamurti has a beautiful image. He says everybody thinks they're islands, and there's the ocean all around the islands. But when you start to focus on the ocean and are aware your identity is the ocean, and you have an island, but that isn't who you are, you and I are the same ocean, right? But we are busy with different islands. Now, you can either think you're the island, or you can think we're the ocean. And the ocean is the awareness that surrounds it all. There's an evolutionary process of consciousness or spirit in which every human being is in some way returning to the one, or returning to God, or awakening, or coming back into being conscious. They get lost in the separateness, in the island, forgetting the ocean, and then through birth after birth after birth, they keep cleaning up and awakening until finally they begin to realize they're the ocean and not the island.
Essentially, in the life of Christ, then, as Christ...
Christ said, you're not the island, you're the ocean. He says, look, nail me up, I'll show you. It's no big deal. I'll drop it, and then I'll come back, because that isn't what it's about. He freed everybody, but nobody would listen. He said, you know, that you aren't this. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Go in and find out who you really are.
How have you come to deal with some of the things, I mean, for all of the wisdom, or whatever we want to call it, you've acquired on this journey to achieve a sense of who you are and a great inner truth? How do you deal with things like being late?
Being late?
Being late. You know, Ram Dass is expected at the auditorium at 8 o'clock, and he's caught in a traffic jam, and he's going to be at least 45 minutes late. He's stuck in traffic. In a situation like that, where many of us would rip the steering wheel off our car, what do you do?
Enjoy the cosmic humor.
Enjoy
the predicament.
Of the predicament.
Yeah. It's as if, at one level, you're like watching a moving picture of your own life unfolding. You're watching the melodrama unfold. I mean, the Ram Dass melodrama is just another drama. And behind it all, I'm sitting in the ocean. All right? I'm no more Ram Dass than I am Bill Boggs. I'm just here. You're talking to this thing, which you assume is me, but that's just this thing that was late in traffic, okay? And I can watch the whole process unfolding: decay, death, birth, joy, happiness, suffering, sadness, the stuff of life, the stuff of late, being late, being early, being responsible, being irresponsible. And you're totally involved in the sense that you play it perfectly. You do it with total involvement, love, and compassion to relieve suffering of human beings. And at the same moment, there's no clinging to it. It's as if I'm not clinging. I'm aiming to get to the studio in time, but I'm not clinging to it. If I don't, okay, I didn't.
And how about ambition, Ram Dass? How do you address yourself to those who are where you were back in the late 50s and early 60s, who are very committed to being a success or achieving?
You can go on doing the dance you're doing perfectly without. You can go on being a moderator, being Bill Boggs, being perfect in your game, in your way of life, in your involvement, and at the same time deepen your connection and become aware of who you are behind the whole thing without losing a step in it at all. In other words, the achievement goes on, but you cease to be identified with being the achiever.
One's ego then must fall away in this process.
The ego is a functional entity. It's just like your suit. It keeps you warm. Your ego is a functional unit for defining the world and yourself in it. But the difference is your ego is not the master, it's your servant. Your intellect's not your master, it's your servant. Your emotions are your servant. Your body is your servant. And behind the servant, you are.